bad boys. It seems I'm unfashionably late, but I'm ready to give you everything you want.
How are we going today, Minasan? My name is Rakunx. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you are new, I will try my best to cover as much Bayonetta 3 content each and every day, since that is what we focus on this channel. We have a lot to unpack. I've calmed down, so this is my first full analysis of the new Bayonetta 3 trailer. If it is not too much of your time, I would really appreciate it if you shared this video and shared the Bayonetta 3 theories playlist and see what we got right and what we got wrong. I hope you've also subscribed, liked the video, and turn on post notifications so that way you can be the first to have your daily dose of Bayonetta 3 content. I'll also be analyzing the blog post and the end credit scenes, so be sure to stick around for that. It is set in the Shibuya area of Tokyo, which we actually predicted way back last year. At least for some point, this is where the start of the game actually takes place. I actually thought this was Astral Chain 2 initially due to Lappy and the monster, but then to my relief, it was my one and only. The puppy over here was theorized by someone in my chat to be Loki who's transformed. Also, other people have been saying it's from Project GG. While that may be an awesome introduction for his character Loki to return, the ending character has a paw print on his sword. It would be really cool to see if this person is the dog in the beginning, masquerading or spying on what is happening. You also have Pure Eye right over here, which could be a subtle reference to the eyes of the world, possibly hinting that they will be used to their full potential, whoever they may be, as well as possibly being the central eye of the world or the fusion of both eyes. You also have the Wonderful 101 reference at the top of the tower, and the three similar looking guys, possibly a reference to having more than one Cereza, like what we predicted. Unfortunately, I won't be able to translate the Japanese, so if Makaze and Haru are there, I would love to see your input. You then have soldiers being able to see, interact, and even gun down these so-called mysterious life forms, but we'll talk about that in a sec. You have the Perseus Cafe, which could be a reference to the Greek hero from mythology, who slayed the Gorgon Medusa, and is also a son of Zeus. He is also known for rescuing the Ethiopian princess Andromeda, which kind of draws parallels to this Cereza and the guy at the end, or the main big boss of this world. I'll expand on that a bit later, so stick around for that. That's a very in a nutshell take on the story of Perseus, but this could be the first hint of what mythology Bayonetta 3 would be inspired by. Greek mythology. You have now what is called the mysterious life forms, to which we can abbreviate to MILF, but never mind. So this mysterious life form is interacting with humans, and obviously it's some sort of threat. We got a closer look at it. While I thought it was an angel, but someone in my chat saw that it had no halo. Thank you so much for that. If I do miss out on your names, please just let me know in the comments below. And that blog post talked about it not being a demon or an angel, or have demon and angel origins. The light blue holographic ribbons don't have any Enochian or even Infernal, but they did remind me a little bit of Rose's emblem. They are more similar to that of Bayonetta 2 angels like Valiance once they have been broken down. One of the big questions I got quite a lot is why can humans interact with these life forms, and I would say it's because of what they are. Mysterious life forms that don't really falter under the rules of switching worlds like Paradiso, Inferno, or even Purgatorio. Sniper Iguana and our previous theory dictated that there might be some sort of alien or extraterrestrial contact, since there is evidence of space travel in the games. Here are my biggest possibilities. 1, they are extraterrestrials, plain and simple. 2, the Armageddon hasn't cured, and these are corrupted mixtures of both angels and demons, as the blog didn't say that they were solely one or the other. Or 3, a life form created by someone who was inspired by the appearance of angels, so someone completely different that we'd have no clue on. If you have the army involved, you can tell it's a DEFCON 2 or a DEFCON 1 situation, but this really took me back to what John was hinting at the previous game, or more so foreshadowing, talking about something big is going to happen to our world.
セレサ、気をつけろ。何かが、世界に何かが起きようとしている。
Not necessarily with Aesir, but the threat of what is happening in Bayonetta 3. Our 50th episode dictated that there is a bigger threat to Aesir that Aesir was actually trying to avoid. We have a better view of the Apocalyptic Tokyo, to where Crazy Gal took the link of color my world, quote unquote, as the name of the guns, and the dimness of the surrounding environment. So the symbolic message, and even quite literally, means to color the world with our adventures as Cereza, or this Cereza, whoever this Cereza may be, away from the darkness of the Armageddon in this world. As their weapons have no effect, we get a glimpse of another life form merging from a blob of expired Mountain Dew. There seems to be some souls trapped away as these monsters form, and it actually shows us that the rift between Purgatorio, Inferno, and Paradiso could be at fault here. To put it into a different perspective, it's like saying these souls are the ones that didn't make it to the afterlife. So my guess is that someone is actually using these lost souls and forging them into monsters. The amalgamation of the world, aka the second Armageddon, likely made this possible. So a being is just here play-dohing the souls of the dead as weapons. There seems to be a symbol on the back of the soul, but it didn't really faze me as anything special other than it looks like a symmetrical shape like how the Lumen Sage's logo is. You get a scene of these monsters absolutely wrecking the military, but it just goes to show that these are not human level threats, but of cosmic. So they would have to be handled by beings like Bayonetta, Cereza, and John. I wouldn't even say that these are Radahn level, but Radahn absolutely loves Japan, so this might be one of the triggers of his arrival later on in the game. Perhaps he may be tempted to turn these into weapons. Before you go on and judge, I am completely aware that this may be actually really likely to be the Brave Cereza, who we raised in the first game, who has now grown up and is now having her adventures here in this timeline. Many people have already said this and have figured it out, so I will go ahead and talk about that very soon. We get a closer look at the lettering, which looks like both a mixture of Enochian and Inferno. Makes sense for Bayonetta 3. But it really gets me thinking that there might be someone who is puppeteering all of these mysterious life forms. Like how Jubelius is to the angels and how Shiba is to the demons. Upon closer inspection, it reminded me of Hebrew, so if you can decipher these to be a certain language, please let me know in the comments below. You have the greatest moment of the trailer that I really loved, especially from my reaction, because I've been waiting for this every day, and it's been like a daily routine for me. Some of you may not liked it, or feel like I have over-exaggerated, and that's okay. It was kind of a big thing for me since I've been making videos about it almost every day. You have the P that Cereza carves in, which could be both alluding to Platinum Games, like at the ending of Bayonetta 2, or even Perseus, that Greek mythology that we were talking about earlier. Since these monsters are burned by Cereza's bullets, you're gonna need some sort of magic to affect them. We get the version of Lappy being from Astral Chain, which I gotta admit made me think it was Astral Chain 2. The roar it gasped out really sounded like Temperance. The greatest moment that everyone knew, Cereza activates Witch Time, which now has a celestial theme going on, a major upgrade from the two previous games. And the iconic sound that just made my heart throb. I'm glad they didn't change that. Cereza is then seen as a reflection, as the music was so perfectly synonymous with the emotion I felt. I also wanted to apologize for who I thought was Madama Butterfly. I'll take my L and reform my statement that this is not a redesign of Madama Butterfly, but actually something my chat was saying who was different. We'll dive into her in a sec, but we'll call this Madama Mystery for now. So you can see her wicked weave is not that of Madama Butterfly's like in the first two games, since she does have a marble white skin tone. Keep that in mind for now. We get a glimpse of her new purple guns named Color My World, which is most likely a homage to Petula Clark's Color My World 1966. I would suggest you go listen to that as soon as possible and come right back here, but it's essentially about, you guessed it, being able to spread joy and happiness to someone and the world around them. The engraving on the guns, I found out, are likely Yellow Sunshine, which is a direct reference to the lyrics of the song, but inverted. Therefore, if the pattern continues, I was able to deduce the guns as Yellow Sunshine, Orange Blossom, Green Grass, and Blue Sky, further showing that this wasn't made by Radahn. It speaks a lot about the sun coming down to bless the world, but that makes me think of something else. Let's say that this is a Lumen Sage who is actually the one who is trying to color the world by getting rid of Cereza's, since she is the cause of all the problems, being a forbidden child and such. The guns actually have 3 barrels now, so that leak I saw a while back was actually quite right, even if it was obviously photoshopped. So a lot of you have guessed that this Cereza may be the Brave Cereza that we raised in the first game. This was the main point in our Bayonetta 3 theories episode 3. It's pretty obvious with the hair and that she has a different Madama. Since she grew up empowered and raised better by our Bayonetta, she went on to have a different life. Possibly no Radahn, no Enzo, no Luca, and possibly no John after the witch hunts. I really felt bad for all the John lovers, and Phileas, yes, I felt your pain. I even thought for the last second that this person was John. But yeah, different gun design, no encounter with Radahn, and not even a mention of this woman being Bayonetta. She also sounded very different to Helena Taylor, so she misdirected my misdirection. But from the fact that this might be Brave Cereza, Helena Taylor could still be voicing our Bayonetta regardless. I even put on Reddit as a joke that they found the little Cereza's voice actress grown up and is now voicing her grown-up self in Bayonetta 3. She has completely different emblems and charms, and I apologize to Mr. Oum, her hair does loop into a ribbon and then goes down to her heels. I'm very sorry, man, I hope you can forgive me. Another thing is that her glasses mimic those of Brave Cereza, the little one. So it's quite obvious that they are hinting that it's the little girl who is grown up. I don't know about you, but the music felt quite different, actually super different now that I think about it. It's still amazing and I would love to listen to it even more, but it actually doesn't give out the fabulous fancy vibe as like with Mysterious Destiny, Fly Me to the Moon, Moon River, and Tomorrow Is Mine. Therefore, that is another hint that this is Brave Cereza. She actually has more golden elements to her outfit, which kind of actually mirrors the famed witch outfit in Bayonetta 2, being silver. That makes me think, is Bayonetta 3 a branching continuation of Bayonetta 1? One was continue our Bayonetta, and the other one was to continue this Cereza. She is so beautiful, oh my god! Her first quote was "bad boy," followed by "it seems I'm so unfashionably late," as a huge fourth wall break right there talking to the fans. Her lipstick is now a bright pink, and her glasses, while still having the frames of the red ones she used to have, are now similar to mine. Her voice does now feel like an older version of that actress in the first game. I'm Ready to Give Everything You Want is another fourth wall break talking about how we are finally satiating our hunger with Bayonetta 3, or how they are satiating our hunger with Bayonetta 3. Ugh, that wink. We then cut to her gameplay footage, which I really did not mind. A few people said it was ugly and not their style, and I agree, I'm empathizing with them. It is quite different compared to the first games. We now have the ability to use demon slaves right here on the D-pad, so these won't be used for lollipops anymore, or maybe a different mode might allow that. The magic bar is definitely the MP usage of the infernal demons, and what I love are the new kind of torture attacks. Don't get me wrong, this is completely different, a completely different Bayonetta compared to the previous games, and again, I agree on why some people don't like it. I can argue with them, it seems quite dull, it seems quite dim, but maybe that's the premise of the story as of now. Torture attacks still use the same mechanic of A and B, though it seems like they won't require the use of magic orbs and actually are part of a ending combo, or the end of a combo. So you reach a certain combo or enemy health in order to finish, similar to that of newer hack and slash games like Automata, Chain, and Nexus. Another awesome mechanic that we now have is the Demon Masquerade, where Crazy Gal and I just went crazy for since we absolutely loved that fan-made concept. But it's the ability to merge with one's Madama. I called it Infernal Bonds, but it was actually quite close. We spoke about wanting the next Umbran climax to be that of a last resort type of feel, and I'm just so happy that they are going to do something like this. Again, I do apologize for saying that this is just a redesigned Madama Butterfly. This being is completely different, which now obviously makes us think that this is Brave Cereza. There are so many arrows pointing that this is the one that we raised. Her shadow is different, and she has antennae, so we'll just call her Madama Mystery for now. She is also glowing red, so it makes you wonder if Brave Cereza has the eyes of the world in her timeline. I hope they make it more obvious in the game when the eyes of the world are being used. She then faces the other life form as it now emits a neon green flame, which if you want to link it back to the Perseus story, it's the same color as Gorgon Medusa, who Perseus beheaded. So if we were to interpret it in Bayonetta 3, Perseus would be Cereza, while Gorgon Medusa is whoever is controlling these monsters. She has a new summoning dance that we've never seen before while chanting Ava Vago to see Gamora, or at least a Gamora from the Brave timeline. Gamora does have a redesign, and from what I can see, still has the parasite head as its crown. We have a much more improved summoning fight like that fight from Temperance vs Madama Butterfly in Bayonetta 2, and I feel this won't be an on and off feature. Like, I don't think you'll be able to summon Gamora like this at any time, but only at certain verses or boss fights. However, to counter that argument, Malphas and Phantasmarane are able to interact with the environment, which doesn't seem like an event trigger, and something that you can summon at any time. We have another setting other than Shibuya, which looks like where the Crescent and Sunrise Valleys are, and there seems to be floating islands, which I really think is just a consequence from the second Armageddon, because that just reminds me of, you know, the Paradisso's floating rocks. Enemies now have HP bars rather than solely being on the bottom right, and you can see some of those Mountain Dew souls flying out of the debris. The moment I saw this, I immediately thought, are one of our missions to free these souls so that they may rest in peace and return to the afterlife? For Fluffy and Phantasmarane, all of them are controlled via combo pressing like Drum and Fun. I just hope that these won't be an easy win and still require some form of timing and coordination. It is more fluid rather than just summoning. Now that we know that Mr. Kamiya is the executive director of Bayonetta 3, it is going to be a given that the action aspect of this game is going to be that of Bayonetta 1 and will provide such an immersive experience for the player. This new playstyle of Demon Slave is one of them. We now have sights of the Gatling gun, which was one of the concept weapons for Bayonetta 2 that they actually scrapped. But finally they made it canon, being part of the Demon Masquerade. The shot of the new Bayonetta 3 logo, which which is now my absolute favorite out of all the three, actually have some key differences that could tell another story. You have the red and blue tints on the Umbran symbol that could indicate that Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 are going to merge, and by that I mean famed witch Bayonetta meeting witch with memories Cereza. Another interpretation is that these are the eyes of the world, which may finally be used to their full potential as hinted by Rosa in Bayonetta 2. Then you might say, if nothingness destroyed the eyes in the first game, how do they exist in this one? Well, it's fairly obvious that this is the Brave Cereza that we raised, so it's possible that Bayonetta 2's events may have only occurred in the first timeline and not the Brave one. Therefore, the eyes of the world may still be intact in this one. So who do you think will have the right eye? Maybe in this timeline, this person who I believe is to be a Lumen Sage may be the one. The next change I saw was the frequency of the Umbran symbols, which indicate a multiversal role. This signifies that there will be more than one timeline and even more than one Cereza. Now, a very subtle one is that of the mini letters. While in the first games animate side to side, these ones animate downwards, which I can only interpret as symbolic of about to get real in this universe. Most likely saying that the story will go forward with the melancholic theme as predicted in those 2018 leaks. Now, with the most obvious change, the 3 is now different to have the upper line curled downwards, which makes it parallel to the lower line. It's cool to think that this is symbolic of 2 parallel timelines eventually meeting in the middle. The downward animations also make it seem like the interaction between both timelines, actually the moment Brave Cereza was brought to the past, was actually the main cornerstone of the universe going to hell. Well, no pun intended, but going to shit. Next up is what I believe to be the prologue scene that is synonymous with Bayonetta 2's World of Chaos. So this got me thinking, Bayonetta 3, listen to this, Bayonetta 3 is happening parallel to Bayonetta 2 in the perspective of Brave Cereza, after finally cutting to the Blood Moon like in the 2017 teaser. You have producers Yuji Nakao, who is new to the Bayonetta team, but was also a producer for the Wonderful 101 Remastered. Yusuke Miyata, Mari Shimazaki, of course, with their amazing character designs, Yuji Shimomura and Masaki Suzumura, who I believe are stunt coordinators. Yuji Shimomura was the cinematics director of Bayonetta 2, and it's like they are now hiring even the big guns, no pun intended, to really bring out what Bayonetta 3 is meant to be, or Bayonetta is meant to be, meaning more action scenes and hopefully returning the glory and the vibe of Bayonetta 1. I'm really happy that both Atsushi Inaba, the director of Astral Chain, and now Hideki Kamiya, who is now the executive director, cool flex but okay, not supervising, is actually a huge relief that this game won't bomb. There are messages that Kamiya wants action to be as 1:1, as immersive as the player is playing. So it'd make so much sense if there are going to be a lot of Bayonetta 1 tropes returning in Bayonetta 3 in terms of gameplay and again, vibe. Bayonetta 2, as much as I enjoyed it, is very strict. There is a cage that you have to fight in and it really restricts a lot of your movements and fancy combos. Bayonetta 1 was much more freeing and definitely a fan favorite for a lot of the veterans. But then we get a release date, which we actually found out to have been pre-released on the Nintendo Japanese website, which is also what happened to Kirby. But yeah, we have Bayonetta 3 releasing in 2022. In contrast, I previously said that Bayonetta 3 would be releasing in around 2025 to 2026, and oh my, I am glad they proved me wrong with that. So prepare for an October-December release in 2022, since it'd fit well with Halloween in that year, while Bayonetta 2 was Christmas. But then we get a really heavy sounding slash from my second favorite moment, whom I'm just going to call quote-unquote Cheshire from now. In April last year, I predicted that the doll, Cheshire, the Cheshire doll, was somehow going to be linked to Bayonetta 3, to even right down to the pose, which is just uncanny. Obviously, it's not really my belief that this is really Cheshire, the Whittingham lover, but it's likely going to be a rogue Lumen Sage from the Brave timeline. If you go back to the paw print on his sword, I went with the logic of if cats are associated with witches, then dogs must be associated with sages. Going by that logic, this guy or person, who I really thought was going to be John, who may be evil in this timeline due to the white hair, would be cool to see another Lumen Sage other than Balder. The sword looks much thicker than that of Shiraba or Angel Slayer, as well as the abundance of gold, so it really points to this person being a Lumen Sage. But there's also another argument in this. This could very well be a variant of Bayonetta, who even Atsushi Inaba even joked about having a male Bayonetta a few years ago. To think that they'd actually make this canon. Makaze, you're up. I kept this in my mind. There is no way that anyone else would have Cheshire other than being from another timeline. Cheshire is also quite different and even sewn with white scrap fabric, which all I can think of is the uniform from a Lumen Sage's coat. You also have the Trinity symbols, which is very different from the doll Cheshire that we know. This is very similar to the Celtic triquetra, or even just a hint to the Trinity of Realities joining together that Radahn was warning Bayonetta about. If you know this symbol from somewhere, please let me know in the comments below. This person is also wearing an edgy biker biker jacket with spikes, and what looks like more of a Maodao, which is the Chinese equivalent of a katana sword. I say this due to the golden long dragon pattern as well as the use of charms like how some Maodaos are. There's also a red ribbon wrapped around the hilt, which I feel is just an aesthetic, but it could be this Bayonetta's variant's way of using ribbons, rather than in their hair. Note that this person has purple strands of hair, which could be a very subtle hint of being the purple figure. I do apologize though, even if I think it's a male, it's still a very high possibility that this person is a female, or even a non-binary, which could still make it fit that this is a Bayonetta variant whose sole purpose is to slay Bayonettas, or more accurately, Cerezas. It's very likely that this is the purple figure that we saw in the 2017 teaser. Rip to the Antonio and Eggman theory. Since they both have similar styles of fighting like the slice attack and they are both linked to the blood moon. Even so, I would still like it if the purple figure was Eggman. So there you have it folks, be sure to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications for more Bayonetta 3 theories. I'll be doing more in-depth breakdowns of each of the topics covered in this video in the coming days, as well as some live streams discussing these topics. Thank you all for 2,000 subscribers, welcome to the Rakunity, I'm Rakun, and never get disheartened.